champions. It's DC United out there on the field at Rio Tinto Stadium in Sandy, Utah. An upset win for DC on the road. Again, a 1-0 win over Real Salt Lake, which means DC has just won their third U.S. Open Cup title, and they're on their way to the CONCACAF Champions League in 2014. Welcome to the MLSsoccer.com U.S. Open Cup final post-game show, live here with Simon Borg and Corey Gibbs. I'm Nick Fershaw. We're also going to be joined by Andrew Wiebe and Samantha Yarrick, and we'll kick it back to Rio Tinto Stadium in Sandy, Utah with reaction from the game. But the biggest headline here, DC United has won this game. We spent the whole pregame show talking about how they were underdogs, guys. They get a goal from Lewis Neal at the end of the first half. They held on at the end. DC gets the win.
If you didn't watch this game at home and you're just tuning in, you're imagining DC sat back, RSL was just taking it to them all game. That was not the case. This was a deserved win by DC United. They had more energy. They were more aggressive. They were on RSL's backs all game, did not let them play their game. And for a team that hasn't won barely all year, they came in here, they knew how to win. They knew how to manage a game. They showed a tremendous amount of poise.
Yeah, definitely. They did what they were supposed to do in terms of their game plan. Their two lines of the four, in terms of the midfield and the back four, stayed solid. And they countered when they could, and they took advantage of their chance.
Yeah, they really didn't have that many chances, but the one that they got, Lewis Neal there at the end of the first half, that put RSL on their heels a little bit going into the halftime break, and then DC United really held on from there, guys. And you look at some of RSL's chances late in the game. They had a bunch. Sebastian Velasquez had a shot off the crossbar in the 59th minute. Simon, here's a look at the goal. This in the 45th minute. What a great time to score your goal.
Absolutely. And this goal was made because of a run by John Thorrington from midfield, and he slots into the left side. And Lewis Neal has the presence of mind to say, okay, he's out on the left. I'm going into the box, because Lewis Neal was the left midfielder. There's Thorrington pulling the move off, and Lewis Neal is there and slots it home. A great left foot. We all know Lewis Neal has it. And at that point, going into the locker room, DC has the lead, and you saw the doubts now creeping into the minds of Real Salt Lake. We've seen them at home in big spots not come through before, and you saw them get a little unnerved there. Kyle Beckerman getting a yellow. He was already losing it a little bit, and the signs weren't good for Salt Lake.
No, they were stressing them the whole first half. What Salt Lake was trying to do was go down the gut of DC United, and they kept their lines tight. So in the second half, you could tell Jason Christ said, we have to go on the outsides of the flanks, try and create opportunities, get balls whipped in. But I tell you what, the two center backs for DC United, Jalkovic and Ethan White, were superb. And we can't forget about Bill Hamid in goal.
We saw a good look there at the DC United players celebrating on the field in Sandy. You mentioned John Thorrington, who helped set up this goal. He's won a U.S. Open Cup before, won with the Chicago Fire back in 2006. And James Riley, you guys, a defender for DC United. That's his 5th U.S. Open Cup title. Won a few with the Seattle Sounders, the New England Revolution, and now with DC United. They really did, James Riley, they did everything they needed to do in this game. Wasn't always pretty at all, but they got it done.
Towards the end, it was a little hectic, and it's not that Salt Lake had clear looks, but James Riley at the very end coming up with a key deflection on a Saborio header that looked destined to the back of the net. It deflects and it goes off the bar, so it got a little hairy at the end, but for the most part, DC very organized. Corey, you said it.
They were definitely superb. You know, the biggest thing that surprises me was they went into this game, and the game started, only 4 players played 20-plus games. Only one of them was a defender at Willard, and he didn't even play tonight. So what was it that made them stay compact and stay defensively? Their whole season was on the line tonight. They knew that these were the 90 minutes that they had to perform, and they came through.
And they pushed high up the field. They never gave Kyle Beckerman. Kyle Beckerman was a non-factor in this game because the two forwards were pressing high, and he never came into the game. And then you have to question the other two big names on this Real Salt Lake team. We're talking about Alvaro Saborio and Javier Morales. To me, they hid from this game. Saborio, a non-factor, and Morales, to me, I saw him running away from the ball. Towards the end there, he went to look for it. That's where you want your big players to show up. And so I think they let Real Salt Lake down.
And Joao Plata subbed out in the second half of this game. I think a lot of people were curious to see if he would go the full 90, see what he could give them. Instead, it was Olmas Garcia and Devin Sandoval at the end. Neither one could crack the code. If you're on Twitter, send us your questions. Use that hashtag #USOC100. We'll send it to Samantha Yarrick. She's got the latest word on Twitter. What do you got, Sam?
A lot going on. People very excited about DC United pulling off this win. A lot going on about that red, possibly that Ramondo play at the end that people are saying that's got to be a red card. Simon, I actually would like to know from you, in particular, what you thought about that play.
Well, Corey and I have a different take on this. Nick Ramondo taking down Connor Doyle, who was running in towards goal, and he takes him down, but he was about, what, about 20 yards from the box, and there was another Salt Lake defender that was fairly close to the play. I thought he got a yellow card from Juan Guzman, the referee. I thought it was a good call because of the presence of that other Salt Lake defender. You thought I was red.
Simon, it's a clear red card. Simple as. Ramondo took him down. If he didn't take him down, it was a clear goal-scoring opportunity.
Where was that ball headed, though?
It was
towards the Salt Lake defender.
He was at full pace going to goal. It was a goal-scoring opportunity. Who's to say that he wouldn't have gotten to that ball? The only reason why I don't feel like he got the red card, obviously, Salt Lake, playing in Salt Lake, they're down a goal, and the whole enthusiasm towards the end of the game, 8 minutes left, of course they're not going to give Ramondo that red card.
And if we're speaking clearly, I don't think that play factored into the final result.
Yeah.
I mean, if Nick Ramondo gets a red card, sure, you're playing up a man for how long, you know?
Last couple minutes. It didn't end up being a factor in this game. We're going to send it back to Sandy in a few minutes, but first I want to kick it over to Andrew Wiebe, who has his report on the man of the match. A lot of options here. Andrew, what do you got?
Yeah, we talked about Ethan White, guys, and I think he's certainly a great choice. But for me, it is Thornton. You look at the run he made, but I think it is his negation of that midfield. He's the guy in their organizing thing. He's the veteran. He's the one saying, go here, go there. Make sure Javier Morales does not get the ball. They won that midfield battle. Ben Olsen made the right choice with Lewis Neal. For me, that compact midfield, it comes down to John Thornton.
John Thornton, one of the vets in this league who's struggled for playing time recently and now trying to find his niche with DC United. As for the club now going forward, we know they've struggled all season in the league play, despite a great season last year. We talked in the pregame show about, does this save their season? Look, they wanted to do better in MLS play. They didn't want to only win the U.S. Open Cup, but you look at them celebrating on the field now. It's a great win for them, and again, their third U.S. Open Cup title. Does it do enough to save this season? What do you think?
Well, it won't save the season, okay, because they have games remaining as well. And look, they're going to look at the end where they are in the standings. So it'll be disappointing to an extent. But you can always look at this game and show the tactical acumen that the team showed with almost all of its full complement of players, something they haven't had all year. So it makes you, if you're a DC fan, you look back at the year and you say, if we had this team, and this is kind of the style that DC played towards the end of 2012 when they made the run to the Eastern Conference Championship. This kind of style where they grind out games, they battle, they fight, they stick together. Is this their style for the future, Corey?
I mean, definitely. But this thing, the ultimate thing is this win has put a lot of pressure on DC United at the same extent. They're going to have to really rebuild now that they've qualified for the CONCACAF Champions League and form a team that has depth. You know, it saved Ben Olsen for the meanwhile. I think this victory was huge for Ben Olsen going into the season. But now there's going to be a lot of pressure on him rebuilding, finding out what they're going to keep and add to this team to have depth, and because there's going to be more games added for their season next season.
A lot of people talking about this big DC United win on Twitter. Again, the hashtag USOC100. Sam, what do you got?
Well, Sam, actually, another Sam, Kovzan, wants to know, does this mean after DC United has won that they have a better season than the 17 MLS clubs that end up with no trophies in 2013?
Wow, it's a great question. It's whether or not you value the MLS regular season or the U.S. Open Cup. We talked in the pregame show. It only takes, 5 wins to win the U.S. Open Cup for an MLS team. I think, again, they'd rather be where the Seattle Sounders are, maybe even Real Salt Lake in league play. But it's another trophy for that case for DC.
I don't think fans, though, miss the point here. They know the team underperformed this year. So, yeah, this is a consolation prize, if you will. I don't think they feel they're better off than, let's say, a Colorado Rapids. Even if Colorado doesn't make the playoffs, I think they'll come away saying they had a better season. As a player, does this salvage the season?
I mean, you add silverware. I mean, it's always good to walk away with something for having such a dismal season as DC United did. But the question is, would you rather win an MLS Cup or win the U.S. Open Cup? Of course, it's the MLS Cup. That's something that you really want to perform and be the head, on top of the league in terms of that. It's good to win a domestic cup.
Yeah. We're going to check in with the head coach of DC United, Ben Olsen, in just a couple minutes here, but we talked about it a little bit. You're talking about saving his job, and a lot of people are wondering about that on the hot seat for him. And a lot of questions about whether or not this would save him. Corey, you think he's safe for now?
He's fine. He's an icon for the organization. He's going to be okay. I think, the team's behind him. The players are behind him. There's going to be a lot of changes Definitely going to be a lot of changes. And I think, like I said before, this has relieved a little bit of pressure for him, and he'll be okay for going into the next
You said it before in the pregame show how, despite all the failures they had this year, he didn't lose the locker room.
Exactly.
And I thought the personality he showed under all the adversity, I think says a lot.
Yeah,
Before we get to Ben Olsen, one other coaching question on Twitter. Again, the hashtag USOC100. Sam, what do you got?
Gold.Sean is asking if this loss, what it's going to do for Jason Christ. Does this loss mean he is going to go to New York City FC?
Yeah, I don't know about that one necessarily. He's obviously still under contract right now and still in negotiations with the club. I don't think this is going to factor in at all, but correct me if I'm wrong. What do you think?
I think this loss, if anything, might factor into how Real Salt Lake performs for the rest of the season, because now this is in the back of their heads. After 2008 and the playoff loss at home, after 2010 and they couldn't advance in the playoffs, 2011 the Champions League, now you add this. Does this impact them in the race for the Shield, in the playoffs when they get to a juncture in a game where they need a goal, kind of like they were in this situation? So for Jason Christ, though, he needs to accomplish something with this team. So I don't think he's running away from Real Salt Lake just yet.
Simon, I totally disagree in terms of what you're trying to say. I think it's something that they're going to put behind them going into the playoffs. I think this is going to be more motivation. It was a domestic cup. They didn't win it. Yeah, they might be gutted because they've lost some in the past, but they're going into the playoffs with something to win, and I think they should push forward and they'll be okay.
Well, from one coach to the other, the winning head coach of the 2013 U.S. Open Cup, it's Ben Olsen with our own Brian Dunseth. Guys?
How good was he? Yeah, beast. He said he's going to have a monster game. 4, 3, 2.
Hey, thanks, guys. Down here with DC United head coach Ben Olsen. Ben, it's been a roller coaster of emotions all season long. How do you put into words what this 90 minutes meant to that locker room?
It's been a strange season, but you know, to have the smiles on those guys' faces right now, it's unbelievable. You know, we've forgotten about the negativity of the year. We managed to find focus in this Open Cup and come away with something, even in a season of turmoil, with the trophy. And I credit those guys, I credit the organization, I credit our fans, ownership, everybody. We didn't let the wheels fall off, right? I mean, you see that when teams go through this, and we hung in there and we found a way to turn it into a positive.
You told me before the game that defensively you guys needed to keep your shape, while at the same time not taking away your opportunity to get up into the attack. How important was that goal? I know, but how important was that goal before the halftime whistle?
Half of it worked well. The part of keeping the ball and dictating the game didn't work out so well. Look, they're a classy team. I mean, the way they went about this game and dominated us and put us under for large stretches of the game, that's what they do. That's why they're one of the best teams in the league. But the back four and Bill Hamid, our midfielders, everybody did their part. You know, even Dwayne, you know, who doesn't always do the dirty work, put his shift in, and it was just a complete team effort. And we dodged a couple bullets, but you know that's what you have to do sometimes.
All right, go celebrate with your fans, guys. Back to you.
And we've had a lot of looks on Ben Olsen's face this year, a lot of exhausted looks, a lot of angry looks. That was a smile. That was a well-earned, exhausted smile, and a good point from him. And they didn't necessarily dominate the play. RSL is a very good team. They controlled play for stretches of this game. But they got that Lewis Neal goal right at the end of the first half, and that changed this game.
They didn't have many scoring opportunities during this game. But this was you didn't expect many for them. So they bided their time, they waited for the moment, and they got it. And I think they were clinical in front of goal, and that's what you.
They didn't expect a lot either. They knew what they were facing. They knew they were going to be dealt with a lot of pressure. They were just going to have to contain the game first 20 minutes. But you know what? They didn't just sit back like you said earlier, Simon. They sat back and they were organized, but they pressured well. They sat on top of that circle, and they pressed them from the back and all the way through. Kyle Beckerman was non-existent. Moraes was non-existent. Sabario was non-existent.
Well, let's send it back to Sandy, Utah, where our own Brian Dunseth has the hero of the day for DC United. It's Lewis Neal. Take it away, guys.
Down here with the goal scorer, a game-winning goal scorer. What goes through your mind when you find yourself kind of chasing the game defensively, you guys trying to recover that ball, but yet you get in the attack and you kind of find yourself drifting top of the 18-yard box, that ball squirting back to you.
Yeah, it was just a case of just holding back a little bit and hoping that something dropped on the edge of the box. And I mean, luckily, you know, it was deflected off and it just bounced there, and I was able to pounce on it and just hit it down low and hard into the corner, and thankfully it went in, and it was a great feeling. Yeah.
Coming into Rio Tinto Stadium, teams usually kind of sit back, look to absorb. When you guys came in, it seemed like there was a renewed focus, a little bit of a different level that you guys brought to the game as opposed to Major League Soccer.
Yeah, definitely. There was certainly there's been a focus for the last 2 weeks on us, you know, what we're going to do when we come to this game, and you know, we had a real good game plan, and you know, don't get me wrong, we dodged a few bullets at times at the end there, and at times, but overall the game plan worked, and I thought, you know, organisationally wise we were great, focus wise we were great, and we concentrated for the full 90 minutes, which has been a flaw for us this year. And you know, to win a cup final like this, you've got to have it there for the full 95 whatever minutes it has to be, and thankfully we had that today, and you know, we got our rewards.
You got that lead in the halftime break. Internally, what were the conversations amongst the players of how to maintain that lead?
Just a little bit more of the same, you know, maybe try and get the ball a little bit more and look after the ball a little bit, keep a little bit more possession so we're not chasing the game so much. But I thought we kept them in front of us a lot of the time, most of the time. They didn't do too much damage until the latter stages of the game, which, you know, they're obviously going to push a lot of people forward. But overall, you know, it was just more of the same really, and hopefully try and get a bit more possession, which, you know, second half we didn't really do. But cup final's not about being pretty at the end of the day, it's about winning, and that's what we've done.
All right, go open up a couple bottles of champagne, get back inside that. Guys, here with also Chris Pontius. Chris, it's, again, I talked to Benny, just talking to Lewis Neal, and this season, how do you put into words what kind of roller coaster this year's been for you guys?
I mean, I really can't. You know, it's been a lot of downs for us as a team, but for some reason in the Open Cup we've managed to rally around it. And you know, tonight we're going up against one of the best teams in the league, if not the best team. You know, they had most of the possession, and we battled the whole game. Lewis puts in that goal right before half, and you know, it's a good feeling to get a championship under my belt.
You know, so it's one thing to prepare for a team. It's another thing to have your coaching staff talk about what you guys need to do. But that 11 on the field, what was going on? What was the communication of once you get that lead, how do you hold on it?
Well, we just knew we needed to be men. We needed to get around Sabri in the box. We knew they were going to throw numbers forward. You know, like I said, they had most of the possession, so they were able to swing some balls in. So it was about just, you know, communicating it through in the box. You know, and Bill comes up with a huge couple saves, and you know, that's how the story goes.
Another short turnaround time. You got Chicago on Friday. How do you take what this is and bottle that up and end with this season strong?
I think we'll just enjoy it for the night, but you know, as tomorrow all of our attention turns to Chicago. But you know, for our fans and for our organization in such a tough year, this is something that you know, we really wanted to give to them, and so it's a special moment for us.
All right, go have an adult beverage or two. Congratulations, guys. Back to you.
There with DC United, and another big congratulations to those guys. Let's look on the other side of the coin now, because we touched on it. DC United, their MLS regular season for the most part is over. They're not going to make it to the playoffs this year. RSL still has some work to do. They're still in the Supporters Shield race, and they still have aspirations.
We have enough experienced players in this group. You look at Borchers, you look at Nick Raimondo, you look at Kyle Beckerman, Sawario up top, Morales. They get the other boys around, the younger ones, and they push on and they go on to win the league.
They're experienced, but what have they won? This is what it comes down to. In the end, what have they won?
You're right.
And I would actually put this loss as well on the fans at Rio Tinto Stadium. I think the club needs to take this loss and look at how do we change the supporters culture around the team, because frankly there was no home field advantage for most of that first half, in my opinion. So I think also the fans have to look at that. They didn't create an atmosphere that was intimidating at all for DC United, and that lifted Real Salt Lake. That team on the field needed a lift in the worst way, and they weren't getting it from anyone.
Yeah, bit of a surprise that crowd wasn't as enthusiastic as we've seen it in the past out there at Rio Tinto Stadium, a place that they've played well in the past certainly, but maybe not necessarily right. In big games, they've come up empty-handed out there at Rio Tinto Stadium. Last couple questions on Twitter. Make sure you use the hashtag USOC100. We'll send it to Sam a couple more times. Sam, what do you got?
All right, we've got some good ones coming in right now. A funny one from Andy Knoll saying that shockingly, United is the only thing in DC that wasn't shut down today. Little political jab in there. Saying that Ben Olsen needs to get to Capitol Hill and fix this problem too. What else has been going on? Nice ones about DC saying that they really deserve, after this win, getting a new stadium, turning a new leaf. They're going to be in CONCACAF Champions League, a new stadium. They're Open Cup champions.
Positive vibes for DC.
Positive vibes all
Something
around.
to note is that they have now more wins in the Open Cup than they do in the
MLS,
league.
yeah.
3 wins in the league, 4 in the Open Cup now with that one.
And that's exactly why you play this tournament. I think that's we can wrap it on that and say that's exactly why you play the U.S. Open Cup, the 100th tournament this year. You never know what to expect. You see results like this. Greg Lawless plays in the tournament for the Worcester Wildfire or whatever. All sorts of different results that you can see in this tournament. That's why you play. You never know what to expect. Make sure you log on MLSsoccer.com. You can catch complete coverage of the U.S. Open Cup final, the Golasso Match Center, and all the stats, as well as the latest news from Rio Tinto Stadium out there in Sandy, Utah. That does it for us. I want to thank everybody that joined us, including Brian Dunseth, Garth Lagerway, all the guys from DC United, the winning team tonight, Samantha Yarrick, Andrew Wiebe, Greg Lawless, all our producers and guys behind the camera, and to you guys, Corey Gibbs, Simon Borg. I'm Nick Fershaw. Hope you enjoy it.